Freedom Song is one of the most interesting movies that enlist in the dramatic genre of movies. Watching Freedom Song had been a great experience as it managed to provide a great deal of knowledge regarding the consequences of the Civil Rights War during the 1960s. The main theme of the movie is how an event earlier in one's life conditions a later response. The movie is directed by Alden Robinson, who is widely eminent for his filmmaking techniques and dramatization. The star cast of the movie includes Danny Glover, who had been a pillar and strength of the movie. Other stars in the cast include Viselis Shannon, Glynn Turman and Loretta Devine. The successful attempt of the author as Freedom Song was released in the year 2000, which is still managing to do a great business widely. The movie was thoughtful as it managed to narrate a lot of personal experiences of individuals who were observed to be the victims of a civil rights war. One would not be having a great deal of knowledge available regarding civil rights war. The movie is a brief account of the victims of racial discrimination. It would be incorrect if I would say that the movie is not dry and is unlike documentaries entitling Civil Rights War. In particular, the movie shows a lot of moments in the lives of a black family where a son tends to combat the racial discrimination from which the blacks had to go through every day. The movie is not just an interesting movie to watch, but it also serves as a mission of encyclopedia that adds in the detailed historical background of segregation. The director's selection of cast for the movie is relevant as the main leading actors greatly suit the characters. It is due to the choice of director to project the character of Will Walker by Danny Glover that a great deal of audiences has reviewed the movie as an interesting watch. It is very important to make sure that the star cast of the movie can introduce the main plot of the movie. The movie is a thought-provoking account of the director that elaborates how one's experience and struggle for justice becomes fruitful later in life. The story projects that the character of Owen Walker, played by Viselis Shannon, who develops the understanding later in life that there are many ways to fight against injustice. Such an account had been made with the help of a demonstration of Owen Walker as an impulsive youth working in order to get rid of the racial discrimination experienced in his hometown Mississippi. Danny Glover, who plays the character of Owen's father, does not encourage his son to go appoint the method of protest as a way out. Through my analysis of the story, Owen's father, Will Walker, played by Danny Glover, appoints the technique of organizing blacks in the South rather than protesting against whites. Danny's approach towards the movement of deducting racial discrimination against the Southern blacks increased resentment in Owen's heart for his father. It was of great interest for me to know that some of the individuals such as Daniel become extremists in conducting a way of fighting against racial discrimination. Such elements of oppression take a more negative approach towards the achievement of goals. An example could be drawn from the part of the movie where students are arrested for protesting against the whites. According to Will Walker, protesting in the streets to gain ideological balance cannot be advantageous at all. The understanding of concept by Will Walker comes to Owen later in the movie. I was greatly informed about the segregation concept on a more realistic basis by the movie. The movie takes the audience in the early years of segregation where the blacks were treated as useless beings. The movie illustrates how the characters of the movie were forced to behave on the orders of whites. When Will Walker tries to challenge segregation, worst events took place in Walker family. Will was threatened by the whites to step back and appoint some other approach instead of challenging the whites' authorities. One of the events that could be considered as the highlight of the movie is the moment when Will Walker is forced to whip Owen Walker in front of everyone because he accidentally entered the diner. Will Walker had to attempt what he was ordered to do. Will never did that ever before to his son, thus getting whipped in front of everyone was a very discouraging moment for Owen Walker. Some of the notable elements that help in determining the theme of the movie are oppression and resistance. Owen Walker's attempt for protesting against the whites for achieving their citizen rights becomes effective when he gets to know that members of a civil rights group have taken the cause of the students, including Owen, who were jailed for the protest against the whites. In this way, the story concludes the theme that something done earlier in life could become meaningful later in life. The diner had been used as a symbol in the movie that illustrates the freedom of blacks. Will Walker promises his son Owen Walker that soon they will be sitting at the counter of the same diner. The movie ends when both father and son sit at the counter of the same diner where once Owen was disciplined by his father on the force of whites. I am greatly impressed by the movie as it clearly and successfully depicts consequences that took place in 1960s. The movie evaluates the consequences of 1960s based on personal experiences, projecting how civil rights war affected society and families in general. Another positive point of the movie is that the story looks real and the characters have been wonderfully played by the authors. The theme of the movie has also been used perfectly. It has been a thought-provoking account of the author who at the end includes that the protest did not work out in any way. In this way Owen learns quickly that an event in earlier life conditions later in one's life. Audiences of the movie, Freedom's Song would get a lot of food of thought regarding racial discrimination, oppression, resistance, etc. I recommend readers to watch the movie Freedom Song as it is far better than other documented videos entitling The Civil War during 1960s and Consequences of Racial Discrimination Among Blacks and Whites. Freedom Song includes a more subtle approach towards recording history. Freedom Song is a successful attempt of the director to elaborate the stance of moments and events which become meaningful and conditioned later in life. This and many other essays are available at studycorgi.com.